and other award winners being recognized at this conference are listed in your program with complete details and citations for their awards. The IEEE Communications Society Fellows being honored are John Delasassi, Frank Effenberger, and David Richardson. Delasassi and Richardson are also being recognized by the IEEE Photonics Society, and Effenberger is also recognized by both the Photonics Society and OSA. The other Photonics Society Fellows being honored are Mingjun Lee, Tadeo Nagatsuma, Sundaram Ramesh, Haruhisa Soda, Yuichi Tomori, and Yuri Vlasov. Additional fellow honorees from OSA include Gabriella Gincotti, Jeffrey Hunt, Inuk Kang, Kazuri Kikuchi, Kasuke Kojima, Sophie La Rochelle, Sengbei Lee, Dan Maron, Tanya Monroe, Roland Riff, Chongjin Ji, Steve Yao, and Jiang Zhao. The OSA Paul Anthony Bonifant Memorial Fellowship Award was granted to Victorine Muse, and the inaugural OSA Tingy Lee Innovation Prize will be awarded to Tae Jun Seok. This year's Corning Outstanding Student Paper Competition finalists include Baruz Aberrand, Ricardo Ferreira, Stefano Grelanda, and Biming Guan, David Otuya, and Andrea Sambaluri, with honorable mentions awarded to Stefano Grelanda and Biming Guan, and the grand prize winner is Andrea Sambaluri. Two papers were selected as the winners of the Journal of the Lightwave Technology 2012 Best Paper Award. These include a paper on mode division multiplexing over 96 kilometers of few mode fiber using coherent 6x6 MIMO processing by Roland Riff and his colleagues, and modeling of the impact of nonlinear propagation effects in uncompensated optical coherent transmission links by Andrea Corena and his colleagues. Congratulations to all of these outstanding individuals on their achievements. I would now like to welcome Kathy See, General Chair of OFC, who will introduce our final plenary speaker.
Kevin Slavin, our final speaker this morning, is Assistant Professor of Media Arts and Sciences at MIT Media Lab. Professor Slavin leads projects at the intersections of entertainment, games, big data, next-generation technologies, and design. In 2013, MIT's Media Lab appointed him to start and lead Playful Systems, a new division of the lab whose work has attracted global attention from major news networks. He is also a successful entrepreneur, co-founding Area Code in 2005, later acquired by Zynga, AFK Labs in 2008, and in 2013, Everybody at Once, a consultancy focused entirely on how online audiences and fans interact with TV, movies, and sports. As a professor and teacher, he's taught at NYU's Interactive Telecommunications Program, Fabrica, MIT, and Cooper Union, where he is also an alumni trustee. This morning, Professor Slavin will discuss how algorithms shape our network world. Please join me in welcoming Kevin Slavin.
How does it come to pass that we are in this unbelievable race, with balloons and neutrinos and rock saws and dynamite? And so I want to suggest that it starts somewhere around here. This is the 20s, this is Holland, and this was the response to the use of new technologies, specifically the airplane, in the First World War. And the Dutch aren't stupid, and they know that someday planes could come back and they won't have good news. And so they designed these machines to try to listen to the air. This is one of the kind of mainframe units that eventually starts to miniaturize over time, eventually becomes personal, and then gets small. This is very conventional Moore's Law type stuff, right? And then. Right, and this is a funny picture, right? Like the idea that you would comb your hair before you strap this to your head. But all of this represents something super, super serious, and it reflects the thing that we're doing now that we have always done, which is to find out what's going to happen before it happens to us, right? It's actually really serious, right? That's all we want. And so it's what leads to almost all of the tech that is at the bottom of the stack of everything that everybody here works in, right? Is just that fundamental desire to know something before it happens, right? And so that's what leads to the development of radar, which is great if you've got the radar, and it's bad if you're on the receiving end of the radar, and that's what leads to the F-117. So I used to do a bunch of work with Lockheed Martin in the 90s. I actually was working at Lockheed Martin when the F-117 was in use. And this, this is one of our great achievements here in the United States, is to build something that can defy a radar signal, a non-trivial task, to be sure. And so it was that I was actually at Lockheed Martin the day that the plane that could not be detected ended up in a crash. And so a bunch of the stories that I'm going to tell you this morning are about something that could never ever crash, ending up in a crash. And this is the first one. And this is 1999. This is over Kosovo. This was the undetectable plane that the Americans were flying that was shot down by Serbian rockets. And the thing is that nobody, I was there, I mean, no one could understand how this could have happened. And we had no language for it. And in a way, it's not, for obvious reasons, it's not super popularized even how that can happen. And so in order to understand how it could happen, you have to understand how it shouldn't have happened, right? Which is that basically, okay, I don't have to explain it to a bunch of physicists. If a radar signal goes out and hits a 52-ton piece of metal in the sky, it's not going to pass right through it. It's not invisible. It doesn't dissolve. But what you can do, this is one of the fundamental principles behind stealth, is if you can take sort of that big thing and you can break it up using surface coding and a bunch of things about the way that you design a plane, stuff that, again, you know more than I do, you can take this really big thing and you can break it up into a lot of little things, something that looks like a lot of little things, like, say, a flock of birds. And if you can do that, then what the radar is seeing is basically something in the broad shape of a bomber, let's say, but at the resolution of a flock of birds. And if you're a radar and you're looking for birds in the sky, you're screwed, right? It's like there's no, you can't, it's a terrible, terrible job for a radar to try to do. And so it's basically by shifting, the camouflage is by changing, in a sense, the resolution of what is being scanned for. And I learned about this while talking to a Hungarian physicist who was explaining what the Hungarian stealth program was like during the Cold War, which of course was not the program to build stealth, but it was the program to break it. And they were quite successful at it, which is how a plane gets shot down in Kosovo about 8 years later. And I asked him, so how did it work? And he said, well, basically, if you want to make something visible, you just have to learn how to look. And he explained that they designed in the 90s in Hungary, Czechoslovakia, they designed basically a black box that said, okay, look, if there's something that's not showing up on the radar, but we do see strong electrical signals moving through the sky, we can conclude it probably has something to do with the Americans, right? And I said, well, this is of course very clever, and so you've negated 60 years of aeronautic research. What's your act two like after you do that? And he said, well, after that I went to financial services. And I said, oh, because that's interesting, because those are in the news from time to time. And I asked, I said, so what did you take from that experience? What is the black box in financial trading? And it is, of course, called black box trading. It's called algo trading, whatever has many of its different names now. And this, of course, has come to define market structure, micro market structure, et cetera. And